So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be doing some metal polishing. This is a copper bracelet that I made in a previous video. If you want to find out how I did it, then the link is in the description. There's a bit of a process to polishing metals. I'll walk you through that and show you the main stages, and hopefully this will be a cool video. Sweet, let's do it. So again, I'm down at the workshops at UCS, and today I'm going to be using the mechanical buffer. This buffer has two polishing mops on it. On the left, over here, we have the mop for polishing metals, anything non-ferrous that is, and on the right over here we have the mop for polishing plastics. Now the mops are slightly different in their composition. Mop for the metals is slightly rougher, as you can imagine, for polishing metal. The mop on the right for the plastics is slightly softer. Most plastics are softer than most metals, not in every case, but in most cases. So yeah, cool, let's get going. Right, I just want to give you a quick before shot of the copper band so you can see the difference between now and when I've finished polishing. Cool. So I've got my safety squints, my eye protection. Those are going to remain firmly on my face. Now, this is called rouge, and it's essentially just a block of metal polish. And what we do is we put a little bit of this on the polishing wheel just before we start polishing to aid and abet the process of polishing the metal. So I'm going to show you that now. So these mops are swinging incredibly fast, as you can imagine. We've got this guard here which protects my eyes and my face from anything. You do need to be really careful when using machines like this, because by definition, it's a power tool, which means it's stronger than you are, and they can cause you some really, really nasty damage. Always do this in a controlled environment. So, we're applying the rouge. That's plenty. Now, the polishing wheel is spinning towards me, which means I want to be holding metal right down here at the bottom of the polishing mop. So that if I hold it up here, what can happen is it can catch and spin down, so my metal and my hand flying down into this metal bit, which can be very painful, believe you me. So let's get started. Now I'm not going too mad here because I'm actually quite a fan of the tarnish effect that this copper has, so I'm just going to do a little bit and then show you what it looks like. Cool, that's that. Now, at the moment you can't see much difference. There's the copper band. I've taken off much of the rouge as I can with a bit of blue towel, and you can see it's slightly shinier than it was before, but still not that shiny. So, now we move on to the next stage. This is a really, really old tin of brass and metal polish. So using this liquid metal polish, it's not quite as simple as you might think. It's still fairly simple, but there's a little bit of a process to it. So let's get going. First things first, I'm going to get our piece of blue towel. We are going to put a little bit of metal polish onto the blue towel. That's plenty. See that? That's loads. So I'll start. I'm just going to just rub this on. And now this, as you can see, this really starts to bring off the rouge that was left on there by the mechanical buffer. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this on, You see the rouge just coming off. Now, I haven't rubbed that too vigorously. The reason being is because I want some of the brass and metal polish to stay on the copper. What's going to happen now is, in a very short period of time, this will start to dry, the solvent will vaporise off, and we'll be left with some dry, streaky bits of polish on the copper. What I will then do is I'll then use a clean piece of blue towel and buff off those bits that are left on there, and that should bring up lots and lots of dirt with it. So, can you see those white streaky bits left on the metal? That is our dried metal polish. That's what I was talking about, and we leave the metal polish on there and then buff it off. So yeah, that seems fairly dry now, so let's give that a go. Yeah, that's really starting to shine. Sweet, there you go. Now I'm going to use a little bit more metal polish, a bit more than that, and I'm basically going to repeat the process but just using slightly more of the liquid metal polish. And screw the lid back onto the brasso. You fool, Casey. Never leave lids off anything. Right, so there you can see the end result, the polished copper bracelet. It's quite a bit shinier, but it's still got quite a lot of tarnish on there. It's not quite perfect. Now with this process you can keep going until you get it absolutely perfect and spotless. I haven't bothered using a wire brush to remove any of these little marks and stuff that are there from when I beat it with the hammer, and that's simply because I prefer the rustic look. I think it looks quite nice, a bit tarnished with a few pot marks in there. I quite like how it's not all completely brand spanking new shining copper. You can achieve that effect really easily if you just, with a bit of persistence, keep polishing and keep buffing it off, and eventually you will have a lovely shiny bracelet. And there you go, there is your finished and polished copper bracelet. Hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something. Thanks very much for watching.